I moved around a lot as a kid. We were the kind of family that never fully unpacked. Boxes followed us from place to place, some of them never opened, just stacked and carried forward like permanent fixtures of our lives. My dad was a good man, but he had problems with authority, which meant he rarely held the same job for more than a year. When a lease ended, we packed up and moved closer to wherever his next job happened to be. During one of those moves, my dad found what he thought was a steal. It was a small old 2-bedroom, 1-bath house with a detached garage renting for around $300 a month, which in 2003 was absurdly cheap. It was right near his job, but it came with a warning. The landlord told us I won't go into the specifics, but I'm required to tell you that someone passed away in the house within the last 5 years. My dad shrugged it off. Cheap rent was cheap rent. We moved in not long after, and things started almost immediately. The house was never quiet. It didn't sound violent or threatening, just occupied. Like there were other people living there with us. We'd hear drawers opening and closing, doors swinging on their own, the bathroom sink turning on and then shutting off again. Nothing ever felt overtly malicious, so eventually we just learned to live with it. One of the stranger quirks of the house was the front door. It had a keyhole on both sides. If the door was locked, you could not leave without the keys. And sure enough, about a week after we moved in, the keys vanished. Boxes were still everywhere. We were deep in unpacking hell. My dad was stressed, exhausted, and furious. He started yelling about the missing keys, accusing me of taking them, swearing, pacing, spiraling, and then, out of nowhere, we heard them. Clink. The keys hit the living room floor right in front of the couch. We all froze. My dad picked them up, tried to rationalize it, muttered something like whatever, and left for work. But the keys became the focal point after that. Every day my dad would put them in a glass bowl on top of our old tube TV. Every morning they'd be somewhere else, sometimes across the room, sometimes in places that made no sense at all. My favorite was when we found them inside a sealed box of pots and pans we hadn't unpacked yet, jammed through one of the small handholds on the side like someone had shoved them in there out of pure spite that one actually made us laugh. At this point you're probably thinking, okay, noises, moving keys, weird but not terrifying. Here's where it changed. Almost every night, usually between 2 and 3 a.m., we'd hear heavy footsteps pacing the hallway outside our bedrooms, not creaks, not settling wood, full, deliberate stomping. Years later, I confirmed with my dad that it scared him too. We'd lived there about 8 months. I was around 8 years old when one night I finally snapped. I yelled in the darkness, "Stop stomping around! I need to sleep, damn it!" There were about 15 seconds of silence. And something charged. It sounded like a bull sprinting full speed down the hallway toward my room. 3 violent slams hit my bedroom door, one after another, so loud they woke my dad. My stomach dropped. I suddenly felt like I was going to be sick. My dad called out from his room, "You okay, buddy?" I forced myself out of bed. The moment I stood up, I knew something was wrong. I was shaking uncontrollably. My body was panicking in ways I couldn't control. I tried to make it to the bathroom, but I didn't make it in time. There was a trail starting about halfway between my room and the toilet. My dad followed me into the bathroom, terrified, trying to understand what had just happened. I explained everything while crying on the toilet. Humiliated and shaking afterward, he told me, "If you ever feel uncomfortable, you can sleep in my room. Nothing can bother you when I'm around." The final straw came a week later. My dad had been dating a woman for over a year, and she'd been staying over more often. One night they had a minor argument before bed, something stupid, probably about chores. They went to sleep annoyed, but nothing serious. Around that same 2-3 a.m. window, she was yanked out of bed by her ankle. She woke up already on the floor, being dragged down the hallway. It took her a few seconds to even process what was happening. she screamed, and whatever had hold of her let go. She ran back into the bedroom, turned on the lights, and told my dad everything. The next day, he sent me to stay with my aunt. He stayed behind alone for a few months while he looked for another place. He figured it was safer if I wasn't there. While packing to move out, my dad had friends come by to help and keep him company. Almost every one of them said the same thing when they walked in. They saw a small white dog moving through the house. No dog lived there. That house was haunted as hell. I still think about it sometimes. I wonder if the people who live there now experience the same things, or if whatever was there finally settled down. Bonus story. My dad's girlfriend once brought a yoga ball to the house. Being a hyper 8-year-old, I wanted to play with it constantly. She told me I could, as long as I was careful. We stood in the hallway, gently rolling it back and forth between us. After a minute or two, I tossed it toward her. It stopped midair, just froze. Then it reversed direction and rolled straight back to me. She went pale. I was too young to fully understand what had happened. She didn't want to scare her boyfriend's kid, so she quickly said she didn't want to play with it anymore, and we went to do something else. But she knew.